Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Arknights reaction. Today we have Abnormal Spectrum's episode 16, Battle Theme 1. I didn't know there were that many episodes, but I also don't know if it's like actually episode 16 or if it's just called that for some thematic purpose. But either way, Voltorian Games wanted me to get to this one. A lot of you agreed, so that's what we're doing today. And without further ado, let's go! Okay, I kind of expected the atmosphere. Going that industrial route with it. Ooh. Giving that a note. That's really cool. I thought that was just going to be an effect. Battle themes. They're such a different creature, you know? You never know exactly what tone they're gonna give you. Ooh. God, that like fade in, that dynamic fade is... it's uncomfy. Wait a minute. It's like someone took the remix of Simple and Clean and like got it really dirty, just threw it in the mud. Wait a minute. Okay. All right. You know when I said they're a different, like, creature earlier? It kind of became another one. Dude, hell yeah. Like, I never know what I'm going to be getting into any of these songs, especially battle themes, because they're so specific to like the location or the event they're playing for, that without any sort of context, I really don't know what I'm about to hear. And that gave me such a fucking vibrant picture of how this event looks, feels, general tone. It is a little bit filthy, isn't it? So I feel like saying gritty is a little bit too vague because it's Arknights. I think we all know the aesthetic of Arknights isn't exactly squeaky clean utopia, you know? So I feel like that's kind of cheating, but at the same time, that is the vibe I'm getting from this song. It's the energy that this track gives, has a lot of that like gritty industrial energy behind it, and that is great for that aesthetic. It's doing exactly what it should by basing it in that sound, and obviously the producer here playing around with that a lot, like having some real fun with like, especially I mentioned earlier in the reaction, that like sound that was like kind of this like texture that I thought was just going to be a percussive texture, but ended up having actual notes applied to it in order to make it feel more part of the song instead of just being noise. That's actually something that, while seems like a no shit sort of approach, is not utilized too often. It tends to just stay as noise and sound design when that sort of thing is applied, and that's a good way to do it too, don't get me wrong, but having it become part of the actual like tone of the music before we even get to really hear much of that is a great way to just subtly start bringing in tone and notes and be like, oh, so there's going to be a melody or something at some point. This is electronic though, and with a lot of this like clubbier style electronic, which I bring this up a lot, there's not usually too much going on aside from from like maybe like a solo melody thing going on, but usually it's not too complex. And most of the time, the main chord progression is just 2 chords next to each other. For this one, I'm pretty sure it's a G flat minor and a D flat, and that's just kind of the relationship we have there. It's not dense, it's not complex, it's simple, and it holds its own. It doesn't do too much because that's not what the genre needs. It just needs to create this baseline that you can have a lot of sound design fun with. It's meant to get people to kind of dance to it, usually in the club setting at least. So this sort of an approach to this genre, it totally fits. It's within expectations of the genre and also what you need to be able to expand out of in order to create more noise with it by having more of that sound design room taken up by actual sound design instead of something like a moving progressive melody of any sort. There is like a little bit of like a motif melody in here. I don't think it's a referential motif to anything. It could be. I haven't heard the rest of this event's music here, but basically it's just and varieties of that. It's not really doing much else, but these right here are just perfect fourths on the keyboard. That's the relationship you've got, and that's what you play with. This right here, if you play them just like straight down, does sound pretty uncanny, and that's because as the relationship of these, they're diminished and augmented. So this as a collection isn't something that tends to work on its own, but when you have something that has a perfect fourth relationship within it, you're able to kind of mess around with that and make it sound a little bit more uncanny and a little bit unsettling in that way. It might be perfect if you play them together, but that doesn't mean that they have to sound that way either. It also helps that we're going from white keys to black keys, so you're kind of leaning into the flatting sound of that and having it kind of sync but not too far. Because if you were to just do that normally, it would just become another perfect relationship of another set instead of having something that kind of gets in the way of that natural progression that your brain is expecting. These are the psychological things that music theory does that I love to talk about, and this is why this kind of sounds so creepy and eerie. Stuff has used this for a while. The Lavender Town theme from Pokemon uses something very similar to that. A lot of songs utilize that for that unsettling sort of feeling. You're kind of playing the chords wrong in a way. Not necessarily wrong, obviously, you're still utilizing like perfect fourths, like the tonal relationship does not change, but it's how far you're moving, and it makes you kind of expect there to be more or something else going on, and there's really not. So you're kind of just left sitting there going, why doesn't this feel satisfying when your notes are supposed to be satisfying? It's a very weird psychological trick, and not one that too many people tend to think about, but it is something that happens pretty often. And back on those chords, G flat minor, and the D flat, there's really not too much going on there, but the relationship of these and what happens here and why they work is kind of fun to me. So G flat minor, we have this A right here, and then D flat has the A flat. So we're sitting here with this, and we're hearing that progression downward, which is kind of more what's happening during the actual song when they have like the individual notes happening. We're just kind of bouncing between the A and the A flat. But if you turn them into chords, you surround that with tones that support the movement of starting a little bit higher up, and you're also utilizing that upper note here, that D flat. So you're just kind of bringing it back down to the D flat on the bottom there. That's a cool relationship for just how these chords structure themselves and kind of sync with you. Because for a while, on this one, we're sitting here with the root note that we want to utilize in the center of this chord, and then when we move down, it's now on the top with the other supporting notes both underneath it. So it just kind of brings you down with the energy of the song, and it makes for that sinking sort of industrial feeling that I was talking about, and it just makes it sound darker because you're bringing everything down, and it feels like you're leaving the notes that are supposed to be supported behind by moving them from the center, tonal center of those chords down to being kind of left behind and having those supports below it. I feel like I was just yapping there a little bit. I might have gone a little bit too far, but hopefully that made sense to somebody, and obviously you could see it, so that will hopefully help. But that's kind of about it for this song. I think most of this is in the sound design, and while it is cool what they're doing with the music theory behind just the chords here, the sound design is really what makes this sound industrial and empty, because it truly does sound empty. There's so much of that open atmosphere that doesn't really get utilized, and that's what makes it sound so cool. That's why that like kind of of percussive sound works in the beginning, because that's something that's so reverb heavy. It's taking up quite a bit of space in there. But then they start adding those notes to it, and it subtly changes it from just being the percussive atmospheric quality to being a melodic structure bass line that we evolved from out of there. Also, that second half there, when I said that it sounded like Simple and Clean's remix, I was not kidding. That sounds very similar just to the beat structure of everything going on there. It's not the same, obviously. This just sounds like something that's a darker rendition of that. It might actually be more similar than I think, but I'm not going to look up the chords to figure out if it is. It just feels so similar to that and how it was structured that I wouldn't be shocked if it was very close in the overall approach to how it was made. But I've been yapping a little too long, so I'll call it here. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want me to get to something else from Arknights or Arknights Enfield, drop it in the comments below and I will do my best as always to get to those. But if you don't want to do any of that and maybe just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that. And I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!